Okay, obviously it was a big win. Did some good things, as far as a lot of points, rushed the ball well, threw the ball well. We still had some miscues early in the game. We roughed the punter. We had 10 guys on the field on one of the punt returns, missing a guy on PAT field goal. So some little things that we got to get cleaned up. But when you look at it as a whole, we didn't turn the ball over at all. Only 35 yards in penalties. I think that's the second straight week that we've been right around 35 yards in penalties. And so a lot of positives, but we know, fully aware, the degree of difficulty gets much higher this week. And Pac-12 play begins this week. And so we'll come back on Monday with needing a great week of preparation. That's the objective right now. Questions?
How encouraged are you about the big plays? You had a lot of big plays your first couple of weeks.
We have, and that's something that's very encouraging and something that was lacking last year. It was missing last year as far as the explosives, and for 2 weeks in a row now we've had a chance to get chunk yardage is what we call it, and that helps. And I think that's one of the reasons why we didn't run a whole bunch of plays today is because we were scoring quickly on a lot of those drives, and we're not really overly concerned with the number of plays that we run, but that's why that was down a little bit. Yeah, he did a nice job. He threw the ball efficiently again for the second week in a row. He didn't get his 300 yards, but his completion percentage was outstanding. Good decisions, no interceptions, 3 touchdowns. And then I think you saw what his speed capability is on when he broke out on those 2 runs. I've been saying since ever since he first got here that he's much faster than he might appear. He's moving faster than he appears to be moving. But I think you got an idea of what kind of speed he has on those two long runs. Well, we learned that we're able to do what you're supposed to do. I mean, this game, we had it was, like I said, we're coming in this game. We expected to play well and to control the game, and I think we were able to do that. We're still finding out about ourselves. I don't believe you really truly know who you are till 4th, 5th, 6th week of the season. I think that's when you really settle in and understand, who you are, what you're really good at, what you're not so good at. But we're off to a pretty good start in most regards.
You talked specifically about the running game, and Weber State or not, it's nice to have 300+ yards on the ground.
Yeah, we had. We didn't get much running game early in the game. It was It was out of sync. But as the game wore on, we started moving the line of scrimmage, and Lucky Radley came in and did a nice job. Kelvin Williams didn't get many carries, but he was effective on his carries. Bubba Poole, the same thing. So it was nice to have a breakout game, I guess you could say, with the rushing game. Well, we didn't run the ball a whole lot of times. I think that's one thing. I think we only had, in the first half, maybe 10 carries, something like that. So I think that that's part of it for certain. But, we'll have to look at the film to see exactly. We missed some blocks on the perimeter on some of the outside plays and turned a 3 technique loose once that got in the backfield. So there were some miscues. But we'll have to look at the film to find out exactly what the issues were.
You had that shutout going for a while, but you lost it there in the last little bit. How disappointed were you to lose?
Not disappointed. The Twos played the entire second half. We didn't have a starter play a snap in the second half, with the exception. I think Kelvin jumped in for one play because Lucky's helmet came off. But the snaps that the Twos got were certainly a lot more valuable than worrying about a shutout. So they got to play, like I said, the entire second half on both sides of the ball. And it was good to see Schultz get to throw the ball a little bit in the third quarter. We quit throwing it in the fourth quarter, but all those guys are one snap away from being a starter. If somebody goes down, so that they need every rep they can get.
What about the performance of some of those Twos? Who did you like?
Well, I thought Adam Scholes did a nice job running the offense. Lucky Radley stood out to me. He was dynamic with his ball carrying and bounced outside a couple, 2 or 3 times, which is his game. He's a guy that likes to bounce things and get out in the open field. Let's see, who else? I thought all the corners did a nice job. I don't know what they threw for, but it wasn't a whole lot of throw yardage. And we rotated the corners in the entire game. We really don't have a starting, 1 or 2. We got about 4 or 5 guys that play all the snaps. So they could get. Let's see, who else? I thought the second defensive line, other than the first series of the second half, did a nice job. Yeah, he got a couple sacks. Tenny Palapoy, he's a disruptor inside, and like I said last week, he's the guy that fills Star Lotulele's shoes, and he's the leader of that defensive line, and at least the interior guys. And we've got 4 or 5 guys that we rolled through there. We feel really good about, but Tenny's the leader of that group. Well, we had a little more production with the tight ends today, but not as much as we need to, and that's still a work in progress. And they're two excellent players, and so we've got to get them more involved. And I think we did a little bit better job of that this week. But as the season goes on, like I said, you don't know until you're 4, 5, 6 weeks in until you know what you really got. But we're fairly certain that we're not utilizing them well enough, at least at this point in time.
Isaac Ossiala got his first career start.
Mhm.
Talk about his performance. He's still real young.
Thought Isaac played well. He's a redshirt freshman, big, strong kid, 6'4", 320, very athletic, one of our most athletic offensive linemen, and so his future is very bright. It's just right now that and he had an opportunity today due to Ciosi not playing, but he's a guy that right now is, if Ciosi's healthy, he's our sixth guy, first guy, and whoever would go down, he would be the guy that we would put in there and shuffle the deck with Isaac in there, and so he is going to be an outstanding lineman for us, and I think today was really good for him to that experience that he got.
We haven't seen much of Marcus Williams at all. And can you talk about him playing also? What happened? Where was Carl Williams?
Yeah, Carl went down. He got banged up a little bit, and so that gave Marcus an opportunity. And Marcus has been on special teams a little bit, but had not played any offensive snaps. And I thought he ran hard and did some good things as well.
Coach, you held Weaver to under 70 yards in the rush game. Along with that, what was key in just shutting down the rush?
I think we tackled better this week. There was fewer missed tackles than what we had last week. I think the linebackers played better downhill than they did last week. We got came downhill and got in the gaps and flattened out the bubbles a lot better than we did last week against Utah State. And I thought the ends played better. The ends in the option game did a nice job. So I think everybody, it was just a really team effort of the front seven, those front seven guys.
What did you see most on defense that you'd like to improve on?
More takeaways. We got two, and that last fumble at the very end was the only defensive takeaway. The other one was on the kickoff return, our coverage team on their kickoff return. So that's something that showed up a couple weeks in a row now, is we are not doing a good enough job taking the ball away and putting our offense in short field situations.
Coach, there was a stretch where your offense scored 6 touchdowns there in the second quarter going into the third, one of which was the 2-minute drill you had to get back. How important is it to be able to work on things like the 2-minute drill?
Well, that was another thing that's a reason we did it. Obviously the game was pretty in hand at that point in time, but you got to look forward. And we had struggled a little bit in 2-minute situations throughout fall camp, and so that was an area that when we had that opportunity, we needed to take advantage of that. And I thought they handled it real well and put the ball in the end zone.
Coach, do you think you might let Travis loose a little bit more, given just because he had the runs today?
Well, I think we do need to run the quarterback a little bit more. We're not going to ever become a team that majors in that, but he's got. I think there's a place for him to get 4 to 6 more carries a game than what he's getting, and so we'll have to look at that.
You guys are 2-0 for the first time since 2010, and going into Pac-12 play and the 2-0 and 4 starts. You talk about the momentum that you're carrying into Pac-12 play this year. I think it might be different.
Yeah, well, it's great to get off to a 2-0 start, and Pac-12 play starts this week, as you mentioned. Oregon State coming to town, and the home schedule. I've talked several times about the front end loaded home part of this home schedule, and so that's important that we take advantage of that, because for every down the road there's going to be a bunch of away games, but going into 2-0 or going into Oregon State 2-0 is exactly where we had hoped to be, and really where we expected to be.
Is this a good tune-up for this going into the Pac-12 play?
Well, I don't want to call it a tune-up, but I thought we played pretty clean, and you can ask 7 other D1 teams last week that thought it might be a tune-up. It's not a tune-up. But you want to play clean. We wanted to get better at the things that we had problems with last week, and I think we accomplished that. For the most part.
You had mentioned that if you had your choice, you would have had Weaver before Utah State on the schedule. Now that it's gone.
I didn't really mention that. Somebody said that. Say, would you ever? And I said, well, yeah, why not? So I didn't bring that up. I want to make sure that's,
Okay.
yeah, because I could care less. But if someone says, hey, perfect world, what do you want? But to me, you just play them as they unfold. I don't really get concerned with it. But anyway, what was your question? I cut you off.
answered it.
Okay.
You were pretty clear.
All right.
Overall, I didn't watch film, but what's your sense of the gap between the ones and twos? You talked about that before.
It's-
Really two.
At some positions, it's a big gap. At other positions, it's not so big, and so that's a relative question. I think we've closed the gap considerably between the ones and the twos in more spots than we have in years, and maybe. defensive line. You know, we have 5 defensive tackles that we really feel good about. We have 4 defensive ends that we really like. A little bit of a drop-off at the linebackers between the 1s and the 2s. Big drop-off at one of the safety positions. You know, with Eric Rowe being a standout player, we need to get up to speed with some of the 2s there. That's the offensive line. I've mentioned I feel like the offensive line's in a similar situation as the D-line, where that position is really well stacked, and we have a bunch of guys that we really like.
John Fitzgerald had another great game today.
Yep.
Like he's closing that talent gap that you said was there during fall camp.
We hope so, and it looks like he's off to a great start. He did drop the one slant that was through his hands. I know we wish he had back, but otherwise and he's a dependable receiver, and that's his game. His game is to catch everything. He's not necessarily going to beat you deep a bunch of the time, but he's a nifty route runner, and he's got a great set of hands. Peter, we were elated when we got the go-ahead from the NC2A that he was cleared to play. We got that last week, and he played on special teams today. He played defense in the second half, and he's got a lot of upside. Now he's just learning, and missed. We had to shut him down for 2-3 weeks because of the NC2A stuff, but now he's back, and he's going to be a guy that you're going to see on a lot of special teams, and we'll just continue to work him into the defensive rotation.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.